voice of a new people. The destructive ways of the past are gone. We will replace them with our vision of the future. The party will lead us to the new age. There have been those who have tried to stop the new age. They are the corrupt reminder of the past. They have tried to confuse us with the idea that the old America was a good country. We know that lie. History teaches us that lie. We are grateful to our Soviet brothers who saved the world from destruction, and we can now join them in a world of socialist brotherhood. Everyone will go to school, everyone will have a job, everyone will be equal. No one will exploit or be exploited, and all those who oppose this wonderful vision will be crushed.
Here with a very special message for my good friend Omran Daknish. That's right. Hey buddy, how are you doing? I love sending special messages like this to people all over the world, but especially to great little boys like you, Omran, all the way over in Aleppo. I'm thinking about you today and every day. You are a special little boy. And of course, I'd love to give a big shout out to your sisters Roa and Taki and your brother Abdullah. Omran, always be safe in Aleppo with your family. We love you. The whole world loves you. Yay! Omran, keep being the sweet little boy you are. You'll always be close in my heart. From your friend, Kermit the Frog. I love you, Omran.
We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, start trying to regulate beliefs other than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
Say we're woke, we sell drinks, badass smoke. China is our labor supplier that drives our stock price even higher. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Won't control diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing. Coca-Cola. Drink Coke, the road to obesity. At Coke, we say we're woke. We sell drinks, badass smoke. China is our labor supplier that drives our stock price even higher. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Won't control diabetes is here to stay. That's a real thing. What the world knows today, obesity won't go away. Diabetes
Rated PG-13.
Hi, I'm George Lucas. In my past 40 years of motion picture making, no subject has so inspired me as this story that happened in August 2016. The world saw a 3-year-old boy on global networks, and it really touched my heart. So much so that I had to tell his story. His name is Omran Daknish. His story is real. It happened. I'm telling this story because millions of other children just like Omran are still being hurt in war-torn countries resulting from neglect, illness, and uncaring masses. We must remember them all. You won't be leaving the movie theater without a tear in your eyes. I hope you'll come.
Rated PG-13.
We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
I am Patrick McGugan, John Drake, but you also know me as Number 6. Who was I, really? I represented you, the private citizen. It was symbolism of the socialist world order we see today. You didn't get it, did you? Now we all are facing this reality, that all are controlled by the New World Order.
Volkswagen, das Auto.
One, two, three, four. There's a square out there. Can you guess the square? Do you think that you can find it? You must be aware of the shape of a square if you really want to find it. So look with care for the shape of a square. Look all around. Can you find it? Okay, now let's look around for a square. Is the door shaped like a square? No, it's shaped like a rectangle. It has two long sides and two short sides. Now is the record shaped like a square? No, it's shaped like a circle. Now pick up the record cover. Run your fingers around the outside. 4 straight sides, each one just as long as the other. 4 corners, all the same size. Guess what? It's a square. Did you find it? There's a square out there. Can you get the square? Do you think that you can find it? You must be aware of the shape of a square if you really want to find it. So look with care for the shape of a square. Look all around. Can you find it?
CBS presents this program in color.
am doing this short video today because I was going back watching the video I made about my mother and the fact that in my family I feel like we have past ancestors who were psychic, and I'll tell you now why. We have direct bloodlines to the Native Americans of this country, Indians. My mother did research through various places in Alabama because many of our family were Owenses. And the Owenses came to this country from Ireland. And as a matter of fact, one of my early ancestors was an indentured servant. And the reason I bring up this fact of the Indians is that my mother met her grandmother when she was very young. And I've told you this in other videos, but she was capable of contacting a relative of hers. Her son was living in this more or less wooded area, and she was able to contact him by making bird calls. They didn't have telephones between their houses. And he would hear her calling out to him, and then as a result of it, she was able to communicate back with him and say, you know, there's visitors, come and see who they are. And this video, as you've already seen in the title, is called My Out-of-Body Experience. I feel like I wanted to share this because maybe I haven't told anybody. The first couple of days I came back to the house after being with some people at church. I just couldn't live in the house by myself that first week after my mother died. I was so exhausted after having gone through the funeral that I fell asleep on the couch. And while I was asleep, I had the experience of leaving my body, that I was wandering around the house. I guess the interpretation is maybe I was trying to search out my mother to see if she might still be here. But I never saw her in any of the rooms of the house where I went. And the reason I believe that the dream was so real is that this happened very, very slowly. It's, you know, it's like how you envision a ghost. A ghost floats from room to room, and they have no concept of time because time's irrelevant when you're a spirit. And that is how I felt with this out-of-body experience, that I was wandering the house, but it was very gradual, very slowly. I mean, it had a ethereal a lightness to it. Like the light was bright in the rooms, but it just seemed so still, you know, that you felt like it doesn't seem real, you know, but at the same time you knew it was real because of how all of it was happening. And I felt like after hearing my experiences about seeing my father or hearing him in the house, I don't know if I even told this, but one instance where my father was still in the house with us is I was asleep in bed, and I'm sure other people can relate to this. He spoke my name directly in my ear. I was asleep, okay? And he just said, David. And I woke up. And I mean, it was right there in my ear when Dad said that. And I don't think he was joking. Maybe he was saying, I'm here right now, in the same room with you. Or maybe he was saying, I'm still in the house, I haven't left yet. But that really did kind of knock my senses. You know, it kind of gave me a good punch in the side to say he's not gone on. He hasn't passed over, because he spoke right in my ear. He said my name. And then there was another experience. I know I've said this before. I'll tell you the story. About 3 or 4 months after my father passed away, my mother and I decided to use a Ouija board. It used to be when my parents lived in College Park in Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta. they'd go to the next door neighbor and they'd use a Ouija board. This is in the mid-1970s. It was a fad then because people felt like, hey, let's try to see if we can communicate with people who have died. And our neighbor next door, somehow she must have had some contact through a medium or some spirit contact that she had. But she told my mother things through the Ouija board of things that happened. She said to her, I know you're leaving Atlanta, you're moving to Florida. And she told my mother, she said, you'll get a job at a hospital. And she told her the name of the guy that she would be working with. And his name, I think, the neighbor called him Mr. Wong. But in reality, when she got to this job at the VA hospital, his name was Fong. So there was one letter difference between the names. But the experiences of using the Ouija board made my mother and I feel like, well, maybe if Dad is still in the house, we should try to reach out and contact him. I know you're going to say a Ouija board is the worst thing to use because it's an oracle. And one thing you do when you use a Ouija board, if you open it, you must close it. You cannot just start using it and then all of a sudden say, well, this ain't working, and stop. You have to appease anybody you're trying to reach out to and say, we now close this attempt to communicate with whoever you're trying to talk to. Because if you don't, the Ouija board itself is like, it's like a television set. If you don't turn it off, it stays on. Well, that's what happens with a Ouija board. The Ouija board leaves that contact unanswered. And so therefore, anything can come in because you haven't closed that doorway. And it is a doorway between this reality and those who have passed on. And the reason I say it's not a good thing to play with, because when we went to bed, I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, I've never had an experience before or after, I felt such anger when I woke up, and I thought, why do I feel this way? And all of a sudden it kind of hit me that it was my father trying to say to me, don't play with that, because it lets people in that you don't want in the house. And we never used it again after that. We never tried to use the Ouija board again after, because I think my father was definitely right to say these things do not help. They're used in demonic ways to bring more or less demons. It doesn't help communicate with those who have died as much as it draws in evil. And even God said that in His holy word. He said, do not have anything to do with soothsayers, fortune tellers, magicians, wizards, or anybody, because these people all have direct links to the demonic realm of Satan, of Satanism, all the rest of it. That's what God told us. He said, don't play around with these things. Now, let me kind of insert something into you. When Saul died, and this was David's son, I'm trying to remember the specifics, but he reached out to his father who had died, and the father came up from more or less from hell, because he said, why have you called me out of my torment? Okay, that's literal. That's what it said in the Bible. And I've always wondered, why would anybody say, why have you brought me out of my torment? In other words, why have you brought me out of what was obviously the worst thing anybody will ever experience, and that's separation from your loved ones, separation from God. And then he started asking him questions. Well, they're doing this to me and they're doing that to me. What should I do? And let me say this, he did these contacts through a soothsayer. He sought out a soothsayer to ask those questions. And why would the Bible talk about it if it says, don't have anything to do with these things? Well, it's teaching people that, first of all, it may not be the answers you want if you do contact the people you love. Two, it's not a good thing because it can create more problems, because you're summoning devils, you're summoning demons. You know, and when Jesus was asked about these spirits that he was casting out of people that were possessed, they would say, oh, you're Satan, or you're being used by Satan because you're doing all this stuff. And, you know, Jesus told them, you know, Satan is as real an entity as God. And he has his own processes as Satan to do whatever he's going to do. And he just simply said to him, I have nothing to do with Satan. I have nothing to do with Beelzebub or any of these other demons that Satan uses. Because it was about how they were trying to condemn Jesus and saying that your powers of healing and all the other things he did were in some way directly or indirectly linked to Satan. And, you know, when he tells you stay away from Ouija boards, stay away from soothsayers, when he tells you stay away from these evil things, they don't help you. They make you much more miserable. Then it's time to say, yeah, that's right. We shouldn't be playing around with things we don't know anything about. We shouldn't be playing with things we know are going to be detrimental to you. But I say, of all my experiences that I've had in my life, what my mother has had as experiences, that it's true of certain things that God tells us when you are absent from your body, you are present with Him. In other words, there's a chasm between heaven, between the spirit world and our realm of reality here on earth. And God says you can't cross that chasm any more than the spirits or those in heaven can. Now, yeah, angels can, because you have evidence throughout history in the Bible that God sent angels first to herald the birth of the Lord Jesus in Bethlehem. He's used angels to help people in times of need. He had angels at Jesus' tomb when he was resurrected. So yeah, the angels have sort of that exemption from where they can't go between one place or the other. They can go anywhere they want because God gives them that power, that option. Now with Dad not going on to heaven, I think it's because this is proof positive of other experiences. People who have had experience of seeing their dead spouse after they died, because they said the same thing. It happened so fast, they didn't expect it, and they felt such a need to reach out to those who they loved to make sure they would be all right. But then eventually they do cross over. They do move on beyond that kind of that division between our reality and their reality, and they go to heaven. But with Mother, I don't know. To me, I feel like she, I think she knew that things would be all right, but at the same time, I'm sure there were things that she wanted to tell me. But maybe when she passed, she felt probably peace. There was a lot of bitterness in my mother's life, a lot of bitterness. She made no contacts with her own brother for 40, 50 years. She had no contacts really with any of the family. So that bitterness, maybe at that point when she died, it gave her release. And God probably told her, come home, Nada. Come home, have peace in your heart now, because there's no reason to feel hate anymore. And so she didn't stay after that. She just went straight on to be with the Lord. She felt like, oh, you'll be all right. Maybe that's why I haven't heard from her. The bitterness kind of like cut her chances to stay behind and make sure things were all right, because I haven't heard from her. I heard from my father, but I did not hear from my mother. So I just hope that through this video, maybe some people are asking questions about these things. Maybe you're going through the same thing. Your mother's died, your father has passed away, and you're thinking, well, you know, how do you communicate with the people you love? And it's like what God told us. When you're absent from your body, you're with God. And the only people I think who have that chance to speak to their loved ones are those who feel they haven't finished what they had to do before they left. My father told me this the night he died. He said, "I can't die, David," because he says, "I can't afford to die." In other words, there was so much left that Dad had to do. He could not leave from this world without knowing that whatever it was he had to do, it was going to be finished before he left. And from Mother, I never heard that. Never heard her say that, ever. I just tried to witness to her because sometimes she would say she believed in the Lord Jesus, and then other times when that bitterness came through, it left a lot of question marks. Was she really saved? I think, looking at it, she did know the Lord as her Savior. And because she did not remain behind means that she didn't feel there was any unfinished business. There was nothing else left that she had to do. And that's why now I don't hear anything. But if she had that ability to communicate with my aunt, my great aunt, I think, yeah, she could have stayed behind. But maybe because of the bitterness, God said, well, no, you don't need to stay and try to deal with the other things that you got to deal with. You got all that bitterness that's got to be released from your heart so you can find that eternal peace that you need. And that's why I think my mother isn't still. I feel her presence a lot of times in the house, but it isn't the same kind of sense of presence as I did with my father. I haven't had any dreams of my mother. I haven't seen her except for that one time. So if you want to know more facts of what I'm trying to share in this video, look for the other video called Psychics Ran in My Family. It's on my channel. Then you might hear a little more facts about what it's about. But before I end the video, you'll see on my shirt it says, "One Fine Day." If you don't know who Cat Dog is, this is the character that was on that little boy's shirt. Omran Daknish was that little boy, 3.5 years old, in Aleppo, Syria, who we saw in the ambulance. Never have found the shirt he was wearing, but I found other shirts similar that relate to Cat Dog, and this is one of them, and that was the phrase of the show, "One Fine Day." So that's why I'm wearing it today in this video. I have purchased some rather unique shirts from China. These are ones that are embossed on the shirt, meaning it makes an impression on both sides, the back of the shirt, the front of the shirt, with your logo. It wasn't cheap either. I mean, these things were more than $100 because they have to create an actual cast, a die in metal, and then that's what is impressed on the shirt, and then they're able to create the logo. I'll try to wear them in future videos, but the one shirt that I ordered first, it's identical to Omran's. It has white sleeves, a white collar, a white bottom, and all this time I thought his shirt was green. It isn't. His shirt was gray. And yet when you mixed all that dust in the apartment from the accident, the bombings, with the gray of the shirt, it has the appearance of green to the naked eye. But if you have the computer do one of those eye droplets, it doesn't see green at all. It sees gray. So anyway, thanks for watching the video, and as I've said in other past videos, if YouTube takes me down, forget it. Go to Vimeo. I'm still there, and folks, as long as I pay them, they will not restrict my freedom of speech. YouTube does, because they already a communist platform. Elon Musk right now is trying to get rid of Twitter and bring back freedom of speech on their platform. But YouTube itself and Facebook are both socialist platforms. They are controlled by the communists. And here they do all this crap of restricting your freedom of speech on every subject there is, because if it doesn't conform to what they want, then you can't say it.
to the bottom of the sea. Voyage to the bottom of the sea. Brought to you by... Voyage to the bottom of the sea.
They've reported from around the world, challenged the powerful, and they bring all of this to every story that breaks.
We've got breaking news, and it's good news.
And touches your heart.
How do you even say thank you? Thank you is not big enough.
I made this.
The images shocked the world. Relentless bombings. Stunned survivors.
Apa?